Okay. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your life before you went to war?
Sure. Well, immediately before I went in the Army, I was a student. I was in college. And my family, I'm the third youngest of 8 brothers and 5 sisters.
Wow.
So I've had a brother in World War II. I had brothers in Korea. And I had one that was actively in Vietnam. And I decided I wanted to go to war. So I went down to the recruiting office, and this is when they were drafting. This was in the 60s. And I didn't have to go because I was a student. I had a 2S deferment, and I wanted to go. So I went down to the recruiting office, and I asked them to put my name at the top of their list, their draft list. So I said, draft me. So I did not enlist for 3 years. I told them to draft me for 2, because when they draft you, that's what they get you for 2 years. So they did, and they took me in. And then I had left school to get ready to go in the service. I did odd jobs kind of a thing. And then when I went into the service, I did my basic at Fort Bliss, Texas. And then I was there for, I think 8 weeks. And then I was one of the lucky few to get a 30-day leave after that to come home. And the whole time we knew we were going to Vietnam. And it was an interesting time because they told us at that time, don't become friends with anyone because you're probably not going to see them again. Some of you are not coming back. And so I believed them. And to this day there are people I've been in training with who remember me and that I've seen at a reunion or something, and I don't know who they are because I believed what they told me, that so I didn't want to get too close to them. But anyway, so then I did my basic training at Fort Bliss, Texas, got a leave for 30 days, went to advanced infantry training at Fort Gordon, Georgia, and was there for just about 2 months again. And amazingly, got another leave. And not everybody was getting leaves. It's just a random draw. And I just happened to get them. So, prior to that, I had married my longtime girlfriend, Sue. And we got married the day I graduated from basic training. So, in Fort Bliss, Texas. And so then I came home, spent 30 days, went to AIT, Advanced Individual Training, and wanted to go to jump school. I wanted to be in the airborne because in the military there are different things that you can do, and kind of being a competitive kind of a guy and a macho kind of guy, I always wanted to be in the best unit. And so I volunteered for Vietnam, but I also volunteered to go in the airborne. But they don't just take you in the airborne. Everybody applies. And then you go through very rigorous training, very rigorous. And I'd been an amateur fighter and an Olympic weightlifter, and I had all kinds of training, physical training, that I really needed to help me get through jump school. And so then I qualified for jump school, got through there, got another leave, came home for 30 days, and then I went to Vietnam. And doing this the whole time, you get to know people pretty well, because there are a number of people you go through training with. In California, there were some that were with me all the way until we got assigned to Vietnam. Then we went in different directions. Some people went together. I didn't go with anyone that I knew. It was just as well. So, but prior to that, I had a pretty interesting life, as a kid, growing up in Klamath Falls, Oregon. Just kind of a grassroots kind of a guy,
Okay, so why did you choose the specific branch of service, I guess? Why did you choose to be airborne?
My brothers were in the Army. I did have one brother in the Navy, but I wanted to go to combat.
Sorry.
Nice.
Come on. This guy, we can keep going.
The reason I picked the Army was because I wanted to go to combat. And the Navy, you don't really go into combat. You can in some branches, but not generally. In the Air Force, certainly not generally. There are some areas that you could go in, but in the Army, you're pretty much guaranteed action. And then, as I said, I was just very competitive my whole life, you know, and I did things, you know, I competed in different things, and it just seemed a natural progression to be in the Army, to be what we considered to be the best group. It's a very elite group, the Airborne, and I was assigned to the 101st Airborne, which is a very prestigious unit. And of the 101st, I was in the 3rd 506th. But to answer your question, why I went into the Army, probably mostly because my brothers were in it, in the Army. Most of my brothers, and it was just something I wanted to do.
So how did you adapt kind of to the military life in the beginning of your training? And
Not worth a damn. Not worth a damn. I like to laugh. I like to have a good time, and I have a good sense of humor. I would tell everybody, I said, I'm no good for you guys. I'm bad for morale. I don't want to be here. You know, actually, it wasn't that I didn't want to be there. The problem was taking orders. That was a major issue with me. So how did I adapt? I just told myself I had to get through certain phases of the training as they came up. But I didn't like being told what to do. They tell you when you go in you have zero rights. It's true, you don't. Oftentimes I've compared it to being in prison. They have different rules in prison. They have different rules in the military too, let me tell you. You have no rights. One of the first things they do at the very beginning is they have you empty all of your belongings, your personal belongings. And they say, anything you don't want us to see, you put in that bag. Or it was a box, you put in that box. Anything. Any paraphernalia, knives, weapons, it didn't matter, whatever it was. Pornography, put it in that box. And then you ship it home. And they said, we're not going to look at that box. Well, they did. That's the first thing they did was look at the box to see what kind of person you were. And then they told us, they said, from now on, you have zero rights. You will do what we tell you, you'll do it when we tell you, and you'll do it as often as we tell you. It's as simple as that. And if you don't want to do it our way, you will regret it. Okay? So, you know, taking it as a challenge, I said, sure, let's go ahead and do your thing, you know. So how did I adapt? I don't know if I adapted as much as I tolerated it. I just knew where I wanted to be, and I knew I had to go through these steps to get there. So I did it. But I didn't like them. You know.
How did you feel about the war in general, like politically? Did you feel about it, or did you just want to get to war? Like,
no, when I went in, I really believed in it. I was. Today, I am not a flag waver. I was not a flag waver then. I was just very patriotic. I don't like people to tell me to wave a flag. You know, I'll wave it if I want, and I'll wave it internally. But I felt the same then. But I really supported the Vietnam War, the American part of Vietnam. And that's part of the reason why I went. I was patriotic, and I was very macho. You know, Mexicans have got to save all the, you know, everybody. And that's how I felt. I was very supportive of it.
How did you? Yeah. How did you stay in touch, like, with your family and back home, and how did it feel when you kind of got those letters from home or wrote them?
It felt wonderful when I got the letters from home. You have to understand, this was in the 60s. We knew we were going to combat. We knew a lot of us were not ever going to come back. And so I stayed close with some of my family. Mostly, I did get married. Remember, the day I graduated from basic training. I stayed close with her, but it was tough because I knew I may not come back. Though I always told myself I was going to come back. You know,